All right, so I'm going to begin. I'm going to say welcome. We have a very intimate audience tonight, but that's okay. And it's very interesting because there's a certain amount of, maybe a little bit of audience participation. So here we are. Now, very interesting that we're intimate tonight because it is Pride Week, and it is very, very, very busy if you go over to the church on Wellesley area. Now, I experienced it tonight, experienced the Pride Week Saturday, like last Saturday, because it starts now, it starts a month. It starts a long time before the Pride, starts the Pride. So I have lots to say about Pride, and so I'm glad that I look at the audience and I go, I don't know how everybody identifies, but I have a feeling that some people who identifies as straight here, so that should be very interesting. So, what I say is this, I don't know, I mean, here I am, Pride Week, the Pride celebration, and the whole thing is, I don't like Pride anymore. Spizzy don't like Pride. I don't know what to say. It's very, very bad thing. Now, I'll tell you when it all started. First of all, it's just too fucking crowded, right? So, I mean, it's like, just merely, I used to go out and used to meet some people that you know, and you used to socialize, and there used to be little politics going on, and then there's some people maybe sell the beads, maybe, you know, they make the beads at home, and they sell them. That's nice. It's nice, it's quiet, it's homey, it's folksy. But they were a little bit angry with the politics, fine. Okay, great. And then but you know what there was a lot of back in the day? A lot of the nudity. A lot of the sex. A lot of that kind of things that Spizzy likes very much, so much. Now, I'll tell you when that happened, because I was on this panel for some Pride podcast, and I started talking about this, and I know people were, this was supposed to be a radical podcast, and people were kind of freaked out by what I was saying. Okay, so I know when it all changed. I'll tell you when it changed. I was on the float. Now, there's a famous photo of GIlbert, who's a dear friend of mine, of GIlbert, and he is on a float. It's famous because it was in a book somewhere, or two maybe even, and he's on the float, but he's in Bad Times Theater. They had a float. But GIlbert was on his knees. Not a strange thing, hard for me now. I need the knee pads now, but I need the help getting up, but whatever. I still do the blowjobs, let me tell you. So anyways, there I was on the float, and I was sucking off a large black lesbian, she was not black. She was an Asian lesbian. I'm pretty sure she had a black dildo, but she had a gigantic dildo, and she was dressed as a cop, and I was dressed as a sailor, and I was sucking her off on the float, okay? So this is what we used to do. I don't know how to tell you, but that's what we used to do. And I remember this young gentleman, his name was Michael, I will say that now, no one will. Well, maybe he's famous, maybe he'll ever remember. But little Michael came up to the float and went, started waving his little gay finger at us. And he said, no, you cannot do this on the float. You must stop. We do not allow this anymore on the floats. The S&M, these horrible things, no. And we're like, why? And he goes, well, it's because of the children. Because there are children at Pride, and the children would be upset. Can I tell you something? Gay Pride, it's not for the children. No. Now, you know what they do is a Mardi Gras? Have any of you ever been to the Mardi Gras in New Orleans? Me neither. Apparently what they do is that they hold it at night. When the adults come out, the children are asleep at night. Good sleep, children, sleep. We will have our funds that you do not understand at that. So people get dressed up, they wear barely nothing in the Mardi Gras, and they show their tits and they show their asses, and sometimes they probably even show their cocks. And they have music, and they have costumes, and they have sex, and they have all these things in the Mardi Gras, and it's at night, and it's for adults. That's what I think Pride should be. Because who wants to look at a bunch of middle-aged, 30 and up, but they already look middle-aged, people wearing their Bermuda shorts with their kids with them, representing different gay churches that they go to. Like, who wants to watch a parade like that? How fucking boring is that? On a parade, you want to see costumes, you want to see sexy, you want to see, that's what a parade should be.
Blowjobs!
Say that again?
Blowjobs!
And blowjobs, definitely. Thank you. I'm glad we have some support from this audience. We want to see that. So, yeah, I'm pretty pissed off. But the other thing about it that bores me the fucking shit out of me, and I don't know how to say this because I don't want to insult any of you, but I'm just going to plunge right in, is that there's a lot of straight people now who come, and they come as the voyeurs, as the tourists. Now, on the one hand, I guess it's okay, but this is a personal problem I have on that, is that I find, now, personal company accepted. If I'm going to say about straight people now, you know, personal, I'm sure some of you are straight and you're fascinating. In fact, I know some of you, and I know you're fascinating straight people. But you know what? Straight people have a tendency to be a little bit boring. So it's filled with all these straight people, and I find that boring. And they're not part of it, they are just watching it, and they're going, ooh, I'm an ally. I hate that word, ally. I'm an ally. You know, so I'm not it actually, I'm not in it, and I've never experienced the kind of prejudice that you feel when someone tells you, why do you talk with your hands so much, or whatever. I don't have to experience that, or when lady yells at me I'll just digress a little bit. Did I tell you about when the lady yelled at me at the bank? And this has to do with the kids too, okay? So I was in the bank, I was behind this lady, on this kid, her little boy was coming up to me and he was hitting me. I can't remember what he was hitting. I think he was hitting my leg, or he was doing something weird like that. So I leaned down, I thought quite naturally, she was a little boy, and I said, don't. And this wasn't that long ago. This was about, well, it was a while, maybe 7 years ago, but not a distant past. And I said, could you, little boy, that's how I addressed him, could you stop hitting me, right? And his mother said, don't you talk to him. That is my son. Don't you talk to my son. I said, well, he's hitting me. Maybe you could tell him, don't stop the hitting of me. And she say, and then she pulls her little boy away, and then she says, don't talk to him. You mustn't talk to him. And then she said, I remember, I will never forget this. You might catch something. Oh yeah, she said that in the bank to her little boy, right? So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that there's still stuff that happens because we are different, that we experience this kind of thing that happens. On the straight people that come, their allies, very nice, but they're boring. But I will ask you one question, and this is, why do you think that straight people are a little bit boring? Ryan, can you get me my drink? Here, I'm treating you like my servant. I can't believe it, but I just feel like I need more of that double vodka. So why do people, if we're going to address this very important problem, why are straight people boring? Any ideas? Well, maybe you don't agree, because there are lots of boring faggots. But I'd say they're boring faggots because they're trying to be straight. That's what makes them boring. But they are boring faggots for sure. Go ahead, bud.
They hang out with boring people.
Mm-hmm.
Present company excluded.
No, that's very much part of it. I would say, and what makes the boring? Well, I would say, and this is the end of my little lecture, but what I think we have to offer as the gay peoples, what do we have to offer? We have so much to offer. This is Gay Pride. Let me talk about what we have to offer. We have, first of all,
blowjobs.
Blowjobs? Well, that was the number one. Was I was going to say, but I was going to use slightly more academic terminology. But I was going to say, we believe in alternative sexual relationships. In other words, it isn't all about marriage. Or probably the most important thing that we realize is that sex is not necessarily related to love. And people think that's a horrible thing. How can you say that? How can you say that there's sex without love? I think, of course, and I'm going to pose this question to Ryan, but I think that all sex that is consensual is love, right? But that doesn't matter. So there are people who say, that it has to be part of marriage, or sex has to be part of love, and if you just have sex, if you just have the bodily function, But you know what? A lot of us queer people, we just have the sex. We just like the sex. So that's number one. That's the first thing we have to offer to educate and make the straight people more interesting. Sometimes sex is just sex. Sometimes it's not even good sex, but it's just sex. Okay, so there's that. And so the second thing we have to offer is all this gender crazy shit that we do that is part of being gay and lesbian and bi. And the trans people, God love them, think they invented gender weirdness. But we invented it way before they invented it, because from the time I was a teeny tot, people were going, why are you such a weird boy and why don't you play football? So I get that's part of what we have to offer. And the third thing we have that makes us interesting is camp. So what is camp? Very complicated, won't explain it here. Oh yes, I will. What it is camp, the camp humor is not so much humor as it is a combination of the very serious and the very sad at the same time.
Yeah.
Straight people don't understand that quite often. They're like, now, this is what's boring. This is exactly what's boring about straight people, okay? So they're like, well, now we're being serious. Okay, I'm being serious. I'm solving the problems of the world, which of course will be probably solved by the big white men, the straight men, but we're talking about the problems of the world and blah, 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 it's serious. And then they'll go, oh, are we being funny now? Oh, okay. Now we're being silly. Oops, someone fell over. That's funny. So that's basically the way the straight people just comedy here, tragedy here. But you know what we do in the gay world? We go, oh my God, they're both connected.
The same thing.
Yeah, things are tragic and they're funny at exactly the same time. And that is how we deal with life. And most importantly, that is how we deal with death. Oh my God, I can't believe I got so deep all of a sudden. But yes, so that's the way we deal with all that stuff, you know what I mean? We don't separate it and say, now it's time to die. Now it's time to watch someone fall over and laugh at them. No, we say, you know what? It's all this crazy thing that we're involved with, that it's all kind of funny, and it's all kind of really serious, and that all happen at the same time. Now, what happens there? Did I lose my accent halfway through and then suddenly... And then suddenly at the end, people pick it up. People are always telling me, well, Spizzy, it's just so dope. I figured out that I'm Southern European. I may even be, I hate to offend people, but I may even be Israeli or Mediterranean, or I don't know where I picked this accent up, Spizzy, but it's a combination of all of these things. So that's the end of my little talk. You have to clap for me.
Ow!
Yes, look, I told you my whole philosophy of gay pride for life, and I can tell you're appreciating it, but it's hard. You're all Canadians after all. I remember I went to see a play once at the Shaw Festival. It was by J.M. Barrie, and it was a comedy. And I was sitting, and this is the last thing I'll say, I promise. And I was sitting there in the back, and it was a comedy, and I was laughing. And there were all these horrible white people sitting in front of me, and they went, why are you? They kept looking at me because I was laughing, and they said, someone turned around and said, you're ruining it for all of us. For all of us Ontario people, you are ruining the play because it's a comedy and you laughed at it. And I know people who do that theatrical laugh in the audience who are like, ha ha ha! No, I wasn't doing any of that. I was just laughing, right? In my own spontaneous way, but we can't do that. Okay, so now I'm going to welcome my first guest. So he has told me, I should say guest, because I'm amazing guest, but the internet, all that. My first guest.